So the same person that told me yesterday that we don't have to be responsible for our choices and companies that are selling stuff should have to be not putting stuff in our food that's bad for us. But corporate America says that they can, our government says that they can, and they're going to produce a product that is cheap as possible always. And then she went on to say that my view is speaking from a place of privilege and I don't understand food deserts. Well, hi. I don't know how many of you know this, but I grew up on SNAP benefits and welfare. My family struggled. My parents filed for bankruptcy twice. And there were times where meals were skipped. We ate the same pot of beans for a week, multiple times. Dehydrated milk, powdered milk. That was a staple in our house because couldn't afford regular milk. So my privilege, keep talking about it. It makes a great assumption. But I'm also going to tell you that there are ways, and all it would take is a quick search, and very inexpensively, you can create your own hydroponic tower garden system. And I'm going to show you. I literally typed in the search, how to build a tower garden under $50. Well, first of all, these pre-built ones come for you. One's as low as $33.99. And then if you click on this link that says under $50 affordable DIY hydroponic garden tower. Build this too. This person shows you how to do it. It is literally Healing Hobbies is the channel. And it teaches you how to do this. And I can tell you that you also don't need these fancy tools to do this. Because you can cut through the sides of the bucket pretty easily with a very sharp, like, saw blade. And if you took this to, like, the school, there's probably a teacher who would help the child do it. And I know that from experience because I had teachers who were absolutely amazing. And if I was like, hey, I want to try and do this, they would help me do it. We even found a way to grow strawberries in my garage. In my garage. I had a teacher who was like, well, you have to do a science project anyway. Why don't we make it how to grow something that you can eat? And then I want you to go look up the gorilla gardener. His name is Ron Finley. He's done several TED Talks exactly on this topic of food deserts and how to change the socioeconomic limit to food. And he did it in South Central LA, but you can put a tower garden in your living room. And then when you're done with that one, go watch the TEDx Windy City Mari Gallagher food deserts TED Talk too. See, here's the problem. I have been in some really low income neighborhoods. I have been in very impoverished situations. And you know what I see in those areas? I see cell phones. I see tennis shoes that I wouldn't spend the money on because they're too expensive. I see designer handbags. And no, that's not the case everywhere, but it is a status symbol. And people look at those things, and not the kids, but the parents look at those things as if I can show that I'm doing well, then no one will ask questions. The other thing I see constantly in those areas is cigarettes. It will always be cheaper to buy groceries to make a meal that can stretch into 2 to 3 meals than to buy one fast food meal. Always. And there's a thing that they've studied in grocery stores. People who have money buy groceries. People who are poor will stay poor because they buy the prepackaged meals. For my family of 4 to go out to eat and eat pizza, gluten-free pizza, it's over $100. For me to make that same pizza at home, gluten-free pizza, from scratch, it's $19. You have to make choices, especially in this current economy. Things that hold are dried goods. So dried legumes, dried beans, nuts that are still in the shell. They hold their lifetime expectancy. And sure, so does a Twinkie, but which one do you think is going to fill you up and make you feel satisfied? And which one do you think isn't full of poisons? Because honestly, until we get to the point of Canada or the EU or the UK on what we believe should be allowed in our food and stop the complete corporate America, the capitalist society, where your corporation is designed to only earn a dollar, who cares about anybody else? We're not changing this. And until we say, I am not willing to buy that product, I'm not willing to waste my money on something that isn't filling and isn't nutritious, we will still have this problem until we say we want our food quality to be the same standard as these other countries around us. We will continue to have this problem. So you can say that it's my ignorance on food deserts, and you can say it's my white privilege. But growing up on SNAP benefits with not enough to eat is a real thing that I did experience. The other thing I experienced was never allowing myself to be a victim of that situation and always finding a way to make sure that I didn't end up in that same exact position. We are at a point in time where all of the information you could possibly ever need or want is literally at your fingertips. At your fingertips. And to say that they don't know how, when they are being taught in the classroom, starting in kindergarten, how to do a Google search, how to use ChatGPT, how to use AI, is just going to frustrate me, because that's you making an excuse for staying in victimhood. And yeah, sure, some people would say there's people that need to stay there so that the rest of us can succeed. I don't believe that. There is plenty of room for all of us to succeed, all of us to grow, all of us to be successful. And there's damn sure more than enough for all of us to be fed appropriately. And if you think that's white privilege speaking or my privilege speaking because I now have doctor in front of my name, you have no idea what it took for me to get here. You have no idea what it's still taking for me to be here. I'm still paying student loans. It's been more than 20 years. But I was willing to take on that debt so that I could get out of the situation that I grew up in. And I grew up in a time when you were applying for scholarships by writing each individual letter, each individual essay. You weren't just uploading it to a database and applying with the same letter to every place. It wasn't that easy. It was a lot harder. And I still did it. And I ended up with 3 different grants and 1 scholarship to cover my undergrad, and still ended up with $130,000 in student loan debt from my graduate degree. Where there is a will, there is a way. And if you keep telling people you can't, and if you keep telling people they get to use their excuses, they will still use those excuses. When you tell them, what do you want? Start acting like the person that is that. Things change. Stop saying I'm trying and start saying I am. And stop making assumptions about people if you don't actually know their story.